There isn't really much to do the synchronization. All we do need to do is to make sure that when we are rotating in the bird's eye view that we manage the direction. We do that by using the same action that we did in first person mode. So what I'm going to do is add an action to set the direction to the appropriate value depending on which arrow key I press. If I press the up arrow, the direction will be 0. And it really doesn't make any difference what order we have these conditions, because as I noted before in an earlier video portion, we rotate and move at the same time with this key. The direction is just managing a piece of information. This doesn't really affect the motion. We could put this anywhere in that list of actions. I'll drag that down to each of the other rules, and I'll set the direction to the appropriate value. So to the left is 90, and down is 180. It's the same as the rotation direction in the other action in each rule. And finally, to the right is 270. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did before. I'll press play. I'll move to the right. Let's bring up the agent attribute window, and we'll see that if I move to the right, to the right, we see that the direction is now set to 270, so that if I go to first person, I'm facing east and I press forward and I move in the direction I'd like. If I turn to the left, I'm now facing north. We see that the direction variable is back to 0. If I go back out of first person and I move to the left, we'll see it's 90. If I go back into first person, I'm facing west, I press the up arrow and I move in the appropriate direction. So everything is synchronized. There's one small thing that we need to pay attention to just to be perfect. Right now there's no direction variable set. There's no attribute for direction because we haven't done any movement, and AgentCubes doesn't have that value set until we first define it. One way to define it is to use it in the actions of the behavior of an agent. Another way is to define it specifically in the attribute window for that agent and then go ahead and save the world after that's been defined. We don't really have to do this because it turns out it works without doing that. As we've noticed before, if I go to first person and press the up arrow, it knows that I want to go forward, and as soon as I press another arrow, the attribute gets set. So, and of course, if I go to bird's eye view and play, and I press the up arrow, the direction, oops, I didn't click on this, the direction gets set to 0. But the one case where it's not set is the very first time that if I were to go in first person and press the forward key, it doesn't get set. You don't see it being shown here in the attribute window. So we can actually do this specifically, clicking on the agent and saying, let's add an attribute called direction. And it's initially set to 0. That's the default for any new variable or an attribute. And now I'm going to save the world. Now if I reset, you'll see that it has that value. So we've made everything consistent. As I mentioned, it's not critical. It will work without it. But if you're a programmer, you don't want to rely on defaults. You want to make sure that everything is set. So now we've got a complete set of rules. If I'm in first person, I can move around forward, turn left, move forward, turn right, move forward, turn right, move forward, turn right, move forward, left, 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 come back. And when I go back out of first person, everything's being managed consistently. So we now have created the complete set of rules to do first person navigation and synchronize it with bird's eye view navigation.